Hello and welcome back again to the programming bootcamp of Code Maven. My name is still Gabor Sabo, and Nora is still with us, and we are going to continue the chapter that we stopped in more or less the middle. So hi Nora. Okay, let me switch to sharing the screen, and yeah, and let me just move this here so it's gonna be easier to see. So this is like the slide, the main slide, and then you can find the slides there. And we stopped the previous video when we covered the NumPy issues. And I wonder if you have any questions from the material that we've seen so far before we continue.
I think it's pretty straightforward for now.
Okay, good. So if you have any questions, just feel free to ask.
Right.
Okay, so we have a short part now, and I think in this chapter, so we'll record that, and then probably we'll have a little break. So and then we continue with a new video in the next chapter. So people have also and other people will have time to do the exercises. So this is a really simple program. Basically, what we have here is calculating whatever the area of a rectangular. So just to do some work already with the program. We have two variables here, width and height, just two numbers I put in the program, and the calculation is also straightforward. We multiply the width with the height, and we assign to a new variable. Now, people who come from mathematics will probably think that width equals 23 means a statement like that the width is equal to 23. It's an equation. In programming, when you see an equal sign, a single equal sign, it's not a statement that the two things are equal, but an assignment statement. So this means that we would like to take whatever is on the right-hand side and put in the variable which is on the left-hand side. So we just say that the width is going to be equal to 23 and the height going to be equal to 17. And then that the area is going to be the result of multiplying the two values. Okay? And then we can just print out the result, which is whatever 391. So that's a really, really simple thing. But so far, what we had is a program that can have some data in it and print it out, and we'll start learning how do we give data to the program, because it's not that interesting to use the same data all the time. It's much more interesting when you read it from a file or get it from a user. But anyway, so this is a really simple example of multiplying two numbers. So what happens if I put in two strings with quotations, still the two numbers? So for human beings, these quotation marks wouldn't probably matter, okay? But what happens now, if I try to multiply, I get this exception that you can see at the bottom of the screen. And this is an error. So I start running the program. I save this in a file, as that's the usual thing, and I write in Python name of the file and starts running. And without printing anything, I get this exception. Now, what do we do here? We read from the bottom, okay? And then we see that this is a type error, can't multiply sequence by non-int of type str. So basically, the word sequence is probably a bit unclear here at this point, but that doesn't matter. The point here is that a non-integer, so can't multiply a non-integer by a non-integer, okay, of times string. So we can understand that there is some problem with the multiplication, that we can't multiply something which is not an integer, which is a string. And then we can go back, we can actually see the code that made the problem and the line number. So
I have a quick question.
yeah.
Would you be able to multiply floats, or is it just integers?
No, you can multiply any numbers.
Okay.
Numbers you can in general, just you can't multiply strings.
Right.
Right. So so here you have this error, and and that's part of the thing that I wanted to show, that that's how you read the error. So you go from the lower part, understand what the message is, and then you locate line number 3. Now in this view, you don't see the 9 numbers, but you can find that this is line number 3. In your editor, you're probably going to be able to see the line numbers, or you'll have it's usually Ctrl-g that allows you to jump to the given number, and then you jump to that line number. It's especially important when you have maybe hundreds of lines of code to locate the place where you had the bug, and then understand what was the problem. And here the problem is that we can't multiply 2 strings. So, okay, fair enough. So what happens if we add 2 numbers? Okay, still very basic. No problem. A is 19, B is 23. We added the 2 numbers, assigned it to a variable called C, and print it out, and it worked. Okay, we got 42. Not surprising. So what happens if we do the same, but now with 2 strings? So again, we have A 19, B 23, but these are now strings, and we add them together. And I don't know if it's surprising or not, but we actually get a result. So we can add them 2 strings together. We can't multiply them, but we can add them together. And what happens is the operation that actually happens is called concatenation. Okay, so we concat together the 2 strings. Theoretically, on any 2, we call them objects in Python. In this case, strings or numbers or integers or floating point numbers or strings, and later on the lists, the dictionaries that I already mentioned, and all kind of other things that we have in the language, which we call, all of them we call objects. The authors can define what would the plus operation mean on them. And on some things you can have an operation. I keep thinking about it, about chemists, that maybe they create these objects representing molecules, and then they can write in that A plus B, and the result would be the actually result of putting together the 2 materials. And it could be really interesting. I don't know if it can be implemented or if it's way too complex. So you can go out of the ideas of mathematics and go into the realm of all kind of other things in combination. Whatever, I had this idea, and maybe I even played with this, that you have representation of 2 DNAs, and then if you add them together, you get the result of having a child. And what is the DNA of that? Which might be random, but somehow combining the 2 DNAs, which can be interesting in how you implement some program. Okay, so this is actually the end of this chapter. So now I'm going to give you an exercise and all the viewers a recommendation to have to do this exercise, and then we stop the video so to have the exercise, and then we continue with the next video. The exercise is again not very complex yet. It's extending the previous one of the previous programs, so it's called rectangular basic pi. I think if I go back, this was the file, so you can find it a couple of slides earlier. Maybe I should put in the full name of it, so it's examples basics, the name of the file, and add so it can calculate also the circumference of the rectangular, and then create another script that can do the same with circles. Okay, so simple mathematical computations just to just to play around with it. And then again, you can also have another script that has 2 numbers, let's say A and B, and then prints out the results of the basic mathematical operations. Okay, so that's it for now. And if you can see that the solution is the next slide, so you can of course later on view the solution, and then we can also maybe discuss the solution in the next video. Start the next video is discussing the solutions. Okay, so any questions here?
No, I think it's all clear now.
Okay, good. So let's stop now the recording, and then we can continue after this.